she told the therapist. I deserve to be worshipped. And 10 minutes later I handed her the manila envelope with the divorce papers. She didn't even flinch. That moment, that calm, rehearsed non-reaction, confirmed what I had been ignoring for 3 years. Maybe longer. I didn't plan to serve her right there. I actually thought we might get somewhere in that session. I still had some hope buried under the fatigue, under the tightness in my chest I'd been waking up with for months. But when she looked the therapist in the eye and said that, like it was the most reasonable expectation in the world, something in me snapped. Quietly. Not a loud break, no fireworks. Just a clean internal shift like a gear finally grinding into place. I deserve to be worshipped. That's what she believed. Not respected. Not valued. Worshipped. Like I wasn't a man, but a devoted fanbase. My time, my career, my money, my attention, none of it was mine. They were offerings to her ego. And if I didn't deliver enough, I was withholding. Abusive, even. I took the envelope from my bag without saying anything. Slid it across the coffee table. Didn't look at her. Just told the therapist. That's all I needed to do today. And I left. I think the worst part is I knew. I'd known for a while. Not in full detail, not in some perfectly composed psychological diagnosis, but in that quiet, persistent way men know when something is off. When nothing you do ever seems to be enough, and the bar keeps shifting every time you get close. Let me back up. We met in a way that doesn't matter now. You could copy and paste the story onto 1,000 other couples. She was magnetic. That's the word I'd use now. Back then, I probably said she was different. Laughed too loud, made herself the center of every room, had a kind of confidence I mistook for strength. Our first year was fun. We traveled, drank too much, spent like idiots. I had just gotten promoted to project lead at the firm, and she was working freelance, graphic design, social media stuff. I was covering most of the rent but didn't mind at first. I figured it was temporary. She said she wanted to build a brand. I supported it. Even paid for a website, business cards, networking events. I thought that was what partners did. Helped each other grow. It wasn't long before support became default. She'd say, I need to focus on my mental health this month, can you handle the bills? Then the month would turn into 2, 3. Suddenly I was paying for everything and she was spending her time curating her Instagram feed, writing captions about feminine energy and divine self-worth, getting comped to post about skincare products and calling it work. If I asked about money, I didn't believe in her. If I brought up maybe pulling back on the shopping, the dinner deliveries, I was controlling. Somehow, my basic concerns became accusations. She twisted it every time. Made me feel like I was the one failing the relationship because I wasn't clapping loud enough for whatever she was doing that week. It's not like I was perfect. I get quiet when I'm overwhelmed. I compartmentalize. Work stress? I bury it. Relationship tension? I try to fix the leak instead of talking about the flood. She hated that. Said I was cold. Said she needed someone who could match her emotional depth. But what she really meant was, she needed someone who'd center her, 24/7. We started therapy after she screamed at me in a restaurant. Full-on scene. I had made a joke, something dumb, like commenting on how long it took her to get ready, and she erupted. Called me a misogynist. Said I was trying to diminish her brilliance in public. I paid the bill in silence and drove home with my jaw clenched. She spent the ride crying and scrolling her phone. Posted a quote about choosing yourself even when it breaks your heart. Before we even pulled into the driveway. I booked the therapy the next day. The sessions were useless. I saw it by week 2. She wasn't there to work. She was there to perform. To get back up. She talked in circles, used words she clearly picked up off podcasts or self-help reels. Emotional labor, love bombing, trauma-informed boundaries. When I said I felt dismissed, she said, That's your wounded masculine talking. When I said I was exhausted from always being the one to initiate, plan, pay, follow up, she said, "You're projecting capitalist expectations onto our spiritual connection." Even the therapist looked unsure sometimes. I could tell she didn't want to challenge her too hard. Maybe afraid of being labeled something. But she'd give me these small glances, quick, almost apologetic, like she knew I wasn't crazy. And I wasn't. I was tired. I started running again just to feel something that didn't involve her. Woke up at 5, hit the pavement before the sun came up. For 30 minutes I didn't have to translate her moods or decode another passive-aggressive Instagram story. One morning, I caught myself hesitating before going back inside. I just stood outside our apartment door, sweaty and still, thinking how quiet it was out there. How peaceful. How free. That was the first real alarm. Then there was the credit card. I got a fraud alert, $4.98 at some boutique I'd never heard of. When I asked her about it, she didn't deny it. Just blinked and said, "You said you'd take care of things this month." I told her that's not what I said. She said, "You're such a miser. You make everything about money." I realized then, she didn't see me as a partner. She saw me as an ATM with occasional cuddles. 2 days later, I called my buddy Mark. We hadn't talked much since I got married. He told me he wasn't surprised. Said he noticed early on how she cut me off mid-sentence, how she always managed to make herself the topic no matter what was going on. Said I used to talk about ideas and jokes and work, and now all I did was apologize and explain her away. That hit harder than I expected. We had dinner that week. For the first time in years, I laughed without checking her reaction first. I ordered what I wanted. Talked about my job. My goals. It was like remembering I had a self before her. So yeah, when she dropped that line in therapy, "I deserve to be worshipped," that was it. I had the papers ready. Not because I was expecting that exact line, but because I'd finally stopped ignoring the math. I was 37. No kids. No savings because she didn't believe in budgeting, called it a scarcity mindset. I was barely sleeping. Drinking more than I used to. Sex had turned into performance, followed by her crying about how I wasn't connecting with her. Soul frequency. I couldn't even watch a movie without getting lectured on whether the female character had enough agency. I handed her the papers and walked out. The next few weeks were messy. She went online, of course. Framed it as me being emotionally abusive, intimidated by her growth. Said I couldn't handle a powerful woman. A few mutuals believed her, or pretended to. Most just stayed quiet. Then slowly, things shifted. Clients stopped tagging her. One of her followers, someone I didn't know, messaged me to say they'd worked with her, and she ghosted mid-project. Another person commented that her content felt performative. She tried to get back in touch. Texted me long paragraphs about how she was going through a spiritual rebirth, and how I had triggered a wound that she now realizes stemmed from her father. I didn't reply. I rented a one-bedroom near my office. Started cooking again. Cut my alcohol in half. Reconnected with my brothers. Called my mom more. I stopped looking over my shoulder emotionally. The noise faded. The final moment of clarity came when I ran into an old college flame. We had coffee, just casual. She said something simple. "You seem a lot more grounded now." I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that until I got home and sat in my quiet apartment. No ring light in the corner, no incense burning, no tension in the air. Just space. My own space. There's no revenge arc here. I'm not waiting for her to collapse. I just know I won't be her backup battery again. She'll keep doing what she does. It'll work until it doesn't. Until the next guy hands her the same envelope. I won't be around to see it. I've got better things to do. A few weeks after I moved out, I finally checked the storage closet in the old apartment. I'd left it for last, didn't care enough at the time. But there was some stuff in there I didn't want to buy again. Tools, camping gear, a few boxes of old journals and tax docs. I texted her first out of basic decency. Swinging by Saturday around 11 to grab a few things from the closet. Shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. She didn't reply. Just left it on read. That was fine by me. I got there, and sure enough, the building security gave me a weird look when I asked for access. Turns out she had told the front desk I wasn't allowed up. That was the first time I laughed in weeks. Not bitter, just pure disbelief at how committed she was to rewriting the story. Called the landlord. He said the lease was still technically under both names. I had a right to retrieve my stuff. He buzzed me up. I walked in and she wasn't home, but the smell hit me first, like someone tried to cover burnt plastic with sage. The living room looked like a shrine to self-love. Pillows with affirmations, a massive mirror with lipstick writing on it. You are the prize. The closet? Mostly empty. My gear was gone. So was the toolbox, the fireproof safe, even the damn jumper cables. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I left a note. Guess that's the cost of clarity. Keep the tools. I've got what I need. It wasn't even a loss. Just another receipt. That's how I started viewing things, like transactions. Emotional expenses. I went back and replayed everything through that lens. The friend she suddenly couldn't stand because she wasn't vibrating high enough. That was just someone who saw through her. The job she bailed on because her boss was threatened by her power. She had missed 4 deadlines in a row and got called out. The ex before me, the one she painted as emotionally unavailable? Turns out he had a full-time job, 2 kids, and just wanted her to pay her half of the rent. Same playbook. Same language. Different targets. The difference now was I wasn't one of them anymore. I started working late again, but not because I was trying to escape home. I was focused. Clear. My team noticed. I wasn't dragging my feet or snapping at people. I had bandwidth again. Funny thing, I got promoted. Project director. They'd been waiting for me to stabilize, I guess. There was a moment, sitting in that glass office, where I looked out over the city and thought, she would have hated this. She would have found a way to make my success about her struggle. Would have asked why I didn't feel called to help her launch her personal brand instead. I didn't miss her. But I did miss the idea of what I thought we had. Or could have had. That version that never really existed but I believed in for too long. I told Mark that one night over beers. He nodded and said, "It's like ordering the same dish every time, hoping they've changed the recipe." That stuck with me. Some mutuals reached out quietly. "Hey man, just wanted to say, saw some stuff she posted. Hope you're doing alright." I kept it simple. "Doing better, thanks." I wasn't about to start a campaign. That's the thing, they always expect you to fight back, to try and clear your name. But when you don't, when you just move forward, the silence speaks for you. The women who actually knew me? They saw it. They saw how often I went quiet to keep the peace. How often I smiled while being diminished. How many plans got rearranged to fit her latest emotional weather. I wasn't innocent. But I was honest. And exhausted. Around 6 months post-divorce, I got a DM from her. Short. Just said, "Still can't believe how cold you were. You just gave up." I stared at it for a minute. There was a time I would have answered. Tried to explain. Tried to soothe. But that man was gone. So I didn't reply. Instead, I screenshotted it. Not to share, not to mock. Just to remind myself later, if I ever doubted, that her story never changed. Still casting herself as the wounded goddess. Still missing the part where I bent myself backward for years before I stepped away. That winter I went camping alone. First solo trip since college. Just me, the trees, and silence that didn't feel like punishment. One night by the fire, I sat with a flask and thought about the phrase she always used. "You don't see my worth." No. I did. I just finally saw mine too. And I knew I'd never sign it away again for the sake of being partnered. Not all consequences come wrapped in big explosions. Some come quietly, when people stop calling, stop trusting, stop offering chances. I heard she tried dating another guy with a solid job and decent boundaries. He lasted 2 months. Left when she told him his logical energy was stunting her feminine flow. She posted a video after that. Looked tired. Spoke about how she was on a new path. Cleansing her circle, transcending 3D relationships. What she meant was, everyone stopped buying it. And me? I stopped trying to explain anything to anyone. Because real men don't need to narrate their freedom. We just live it. That's what I'm doing now. My place is quiet. My fridge has what I like. My schedule makes sense. I sleep without earplugs or knots in my gut. Sometimes women ask if I'm open to something again. I say, maybe. If she values peace more than power. And if she's capable of seeing me, not as a mirror, not as a wallet, not as a stage audience, but as a man. Because I know what it looks like when someone wants to be worshipped. And I'm never kneeling again.